So it is my pleasure to introduce today's speaker, Dr. Randhika Jayasinghe. She's going to talk about plastics and how we are going to circulate in the future. So first, I would like to welcome Dr. Randhika Jayasinghe. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation and sharing your um, expertise in the plastic and the waste recycling with our young scientists in Sri Lanka. So, Dr. Randhika is a plastic and waste specialist at Center for Sustainable Development Reform at University of New South Wales, Australia. She's holding PhD in environmental engineering from the University of Western Australia, and she have more than decades expertise in the plastic waste management, circular economy, and environmental engineering. So, with her technical expertise, she's serving as a in different field, especially she was the technical expert of Sri Lanka national dedication to the UN Global Plastic Territory a treaty negotiation meeting held in Busan, Republic of Korea in last year. And actually, she was previously served as the senior lecturer at Faculty of Technology, University of Sri Jayawardhanapura, more than 6-7 years. Now she's joining with the University of New South Wales. And Dr. Jasing has led numerous initiatives in sustainable waste management, and she's continuing to provide her technical expertise in the national level as well as the international projects. So, since I'm really glad to have you, Dr. Randhika, today to address our audience, our curious young scientists, especially. So, with that, I would like to hand it over to you.
Thank you very much, Sumudhu. I had the privilege of working with Sumudhu for almost 5 years during the 8 years that I was a lecturer at the University of Sri Jayawardhanapura. So now, as Sumudhu mentioned, I am the plastic and waste specialist at the Center for Sustainable Development Reform, University of New South Wales. But I'm based in Sri Lanka most of the time, and I conduct our work from here. So, Sumudhu, Dr. Sumudhu, am I audible enough?
Yes, Dr. Randhika.
Okay, thank you so much. So, when Dr. Sumudhu asked me to conduct a presentation, do a presentation for the Young Scientist Forum, I told her that let's talk about plastics and the planet. Not because I am a plastics and waste specialist, but this year is very critical. It's very important in terms of the plastics and its impact on our environment. If you can remember, as young scientists, earlier this year's World Environment Day, we again, for the 5th time, I think, in the past 10 years, we are looking at plastics and its impact on our environment, on the planet, and how we can end plastic pollution. And also this year, UN countries, all the UN countries will come together to finalize a legally binding treaty to end plastics pollution. The final negotiations for this treaty will happen in August. So this is something like a climate treaty, but for plastics. So for today's presentation, my topic is plastics and the planet and the role of science in a circular future. Okay. Now, if we look at the the evolution or the birth of this really wonderful material, plastic is actually really a good material. If we just think about the first thing that you did today in the morning, it's yes, after looking at your smartphone, that has a lot of plastic components. The first activity as a person that we do is what? Brush our teeth. And most of I'm pretty sure almost all of you have a plastic toothbrush. Probably a very few own a toothbrush made out of a natural material. If not, that very first activity that we do every day in the morning, brushing our teeth, starts with a plastic product. And think about all the activities that you do throughout the day, and plastic provides an essential service in every component of our day-to-day life. So plastic is truly a wonderful material, and if you look at the birth of this material during the middle of the 19th century, most of our products actually came from animal or naturally derived materials. You can see in this top left-hand photo, that is a person sitting on a mountain of billiard balls. So these billiard balls in that game that we, the pool tables, the billiard balls, these are made out of, in that time, these were made from elephant tusks. So elephants were facing extinction. And this trend followed in many different areas of our lives. And species, animals like turtles and animals with hard shells, they were facing extinction because they were hunted for these materials. And that's how, among the many stories we know about plastic and the birth of this material, that's how an alternative material came into being. So it was actually invented because we saw our natural environment, the animals and the environment is facing challenges because of overconsumption, and then plastic became a product, and now we are struggling with how to manage our plastics. But plastics, this is a nice documentary done in Austria. It's called Plastic Planet. You can download this, and you can see, if you go to the website, you can download this documentary. This Austrian family is asked to collect all the plastics that they use. Yes, they are from a country that has different seasons, so there are so many plastics. But this is not very different from a situation in Sri Lanka, because we also use plastics, even though we don't have seasons, in every aspect of our lives. And this consumption in some ways have created a problem that we need to address. Now, when we talk about plastics pollution, plastics becoming waste and becoming a problem, this single-use plastics is a topic that we very often talk about. Because of all the plastics we consume, around 40% are single-use plastics. I know the statistics is a little bit old, but this hasn't changed much. It's still 40 to 50% of all the plastics that we consume are single-use plastics. So what are single-use plastics? They are intended purpose. Yes, a plastic bottle, we can use it for different, more than one time, but their intended use is just for one time. So after that use, we throw that away. Now think about a biscuit wrapper. We never keep it with us. We just throw it away. Shopping bags and sometimes plastic bottles we can use for a couple of times. We reuse it, but in most cases we just throw these products away. So this is a huge problem, because we are extracting materials, we create these products, and then we just, after single use, sometimes a plastic straw, just a minute or two in its actual use, and then it becomes waste. So now we have a huge challenge of this wonderful material becoming a waste and creating problems that we cannot reverse. So the statistics, I have given some links if you would like to read more about it. But from all the plastics that have been produced since its birth, approximately 80% of these plastics has failed to make its way into recycling systems. The global recycling rates, even after all these efforts and talks and discussions about it, it's not great. Including downcycling, recycling, upcycling, the total is around 10%, 12% of the plastics. So rest, either it ends up in the environment, and we see in many Asian countries, plastics are openly burned, or sometimes plastics end up in waste to energy plants or incineration plants. So statistics keep on coming, like data, it's being updated all the time. But if I just take a very general kind of an approach to sharing some of the data, we say that 79 of the plastics that we actually create is ending up in our environment, and 8 million of the plastics enters ocean each year. So the numbers, you can see that we are not doing great in terms of how we actually manage our plastics. Now, going beyond that, earlier it was only about how these plastics are ending up in the environment, how it's becoming, not a visually pleasing sight, how burning of plastics is actually creating, problems, things like that. But now, moving beyond that, we talk about how plastics in the environment, how they are now coming back to the systems, coming back to our food systems, coming back to our human body, how these plastics are breaking down, how the chemicals are leaching into the environment, leaching into our food systems, how the plastics are breaking down into smaller particles, becoming microplastics and nanoplastics, and entering into our body. I'm pretty sure if you're interested in plastic-related research, you have heard about how these plastics, the microplastics, are now found in our bloodstream, our brain tissues, placenta, our breast milk, in all parts of our body. Yes, we need more research in this area, because sometimes the groups in favor of creating more plastics are arguing that we don't still know the exact level of health consequences from these microplastics in our body. So these are areas that we see more and more research being done throughout the world. So I just wanted to take this one example. So Professor Karen Rubenheimer is from the University of Wollongong in Australia. Professor Karen and a group of scientists, they reviewed technically all the microplastic studies that's been conducted for the past 20 years, and they looked at the trends. Because we see when a trend comes into play that more and more scientists get carried away, and we do lots of research on that same area. But what's the outcome? What do we know from that? How can we change that knowledge into policies, and how can we improve the pollution problem? That's the real question that we need to answer. So because today's talk is about support our environment, our society to come out of the plastic pollution problem, and even to address unsustainable consumption and production. And I thought that it's important that we look at some of our research and look at the outcome that it actually creates. As I mentioned earlier, it's good to do research, that's for sure. But then we really need to think about what is the impact that our research is going to create, and how we can actually do more impactful research, more research that supports the evidence base needed by the policymakers to make the right call. So this is a very interesting study. And now I thought it's important that we look at what's happening in Sri Lanka. As young scientists, I'm sure you are interested in the environmental, the social problems that our country face. And I thought I'll take Sri Lanka as a case study for the next discussion. So what do you know about the plastic waste or plastic waste management in Sri Lanka? Think about it for a minute, a few seconds maybe. I am not sure how many of you have heard that Sri Lanka was ranked 5th on the list of countries that release plastic waste into the ocean. So this was a result of this paper, Plastic Waste Input from Land into the Ocean, published in Science Journal by a team, a research team led by Professor Jenna Jambek. She has done a lot of work in this area, and you can see how many times this article has been cited. Unfortunately, this is not correct. We are not the number, we are not number 5 in this list. We are number 5 according to this research paper because the research team extracted data from a report that erroneously reported the per capita waste generation in Sri Lanka. So Professor Jambek's team extracted the per capita waste generation in Sri Lanka from another report, and that report erroneously reported our per capita waste generation as 5.1 kilogram, when in reality, it should be 0.51. So I wanted to take these two examples, the one by Dr. Karen Rubenheimer on reviewing 7,000 journals to study the microplastic research trend, and also this paper by Professor Jenna Jambek to show you the importance of data. So it's extremely important that when we work, when we do research, that we do research ethically, that we do research in a way that we present the correct data. We double check, triple check our data so that we share the correct figures, the correct data, correct methodologies with our scientific community. I am in no way, I'm not criticizing Dr. Jenna Jambek's work. I'm just saying that they took the information from a report, but failed to double check the data that led to Sri Lanka being ranked as the number 5 country polluting the world oceans with plastic waste. Okay, so it's really important that we be true to the work that we do as scientists. Now, irrespective of the number, we are not doing great in terms of managing our plastic waste. So it doesn't matter whether we are number 5 in that list or whether we are number 50 in that list or 150, we are not doing great. You can see this is taken from the Plastic Action Plan, the National Plastic Action Plan report by the Ministry of Environment. You can see from all the plastic waste that we collect per day, a large number of plastic waste. Actually, we don't collect a lot. Mismanaged plastic waste is actually 70%. And from that also, we openly burn a lot. From the collected materials also, you can see we are still in the mechanical recycling stage, very few chemical recycling. Mechanical recycling, just, like taking the materials and mechanically recycling that, we are just, it's 4%. So we are not doing great in terms of recycling or in terms of managing our plastic waste. Now, this was taken from a tourism website page, and I just wanted to highlight this is how they marketed Sri Lanka, that we have beautiful beaches in Sri Lanka, blue waters, very beautiful beaches. This is true. There are lots of really nice coastal areas in Sri Lanka, and we are a tourism paradise. But this is also Sri Lanka. we can see that this is not too uncommon, and that is why we see lots and lots of groups are actually doing beach cleanups all the time. And the next day or next week when you go there, it's the same scenario. Okay. Yes, you can say that some plastics are actually coming to Sri Lanka from India. It's not everything generated in Sri Lanka, but a large majority still are mismanagement, how we actually dump these waste in the environment. I'm sorry, the photo credit should go to this the research group who took it. I have added that. I can't see that, probably it's behind the photo now. The photo credit should go to the research group who collected the microplastic samples in down south, and they have taken this report, this photo. And we also talk about not just intentional plastic being added to the environment, but unintentionally from accidental spillages like the Express Pearl. We know that there was a landmark a court case just a few weeks ago. But even things like this that can happen because Sri Lanka is strategically located in a shipping route, and if accidents like this can happen, and it did happen, and we saw the consequences of all these plastic pellets or nurdles being washed up into our shores and actually impacting our biodiversity, our environment. Now, I discussed a lot. I shared a lot about waste as a problem. But if we manage waste, if we manage plastics, any other waste, it's actually a resource out of place. There is still a huge resource value in these materials. And as a developing country, I think it's really important that we extract this resource value from the waste, because we cannot and we do not have the financial capacity to keep on investing on more resources. We don't produce plastics. We have to buy that. We have to buy the pellets from outside. So as a developing country, I think it's really important that we push recycling, reuse, not only recycling, even reusing materials, and keeping the materials in the loop as much as possible. And that is where circular economy come into play. Although it has the word economy, it's not don't just take it by the word. Circular economy is very technical, and how we actually apply this concept into creating a better material circularity, better way of actually consuming our products, producing and consuming our products. So it's about designing out our waste. I'll quickly go through what is circular economy in one or two slides quickly. But why circular economy is important as young scientists, I think it's really important that you know that we now talk about a triple planetary crisis. Three crises that's actually threatening the very existence of the humans. One is climate change, biodiversity loss, and pollution and waste. So if you look at plastics, the production to the disposal, plastic is actually contributing to all three of this. The production it's plastics. If you look at the normal plastics that we see, thermoplastics, it's a production of the fossil fuel industry. So the industry itself is contributing to climate change. And the way we actually use it and dispose it is polluting the environment and contributing to biodiversity loss as well. So we need to urgently shift away from this wasteful society, wasteful way of doing things, the linear way of doing things, to a circular economy if we need to come out of this triple planetary crisis. So what is a linear economy? Linear economy is we take materials from the environment, we make the products that we need, we use them. After use, we dispose that. So after we dispose it, it becomes waste. It's just out in the environment. So the energy, the materials that we use to create the products are actually now wasted. It's just in the environment. In a circular economy, we say that let's not waste the materials. Let's keep them in a circular, in the loop as much as possible through different approaches, so that we are not wasting it right away. Yes, a portion can be, can become waste. We cannot have everything circulated 100% all the time, but as much as possible, that is very important, that we circulate the materials as much as possible to move away from the wasteful society. So there are three principles in circular economy. Eliminating waste. So we design out how to eliminate waste, how not to create waste, how to reduce waste and pollution from systems. Circulate the materials as much as possible in at their highest value in a circular way. And we support natural systems generation. That is, like, we look at what are the natural materials available, how can we buy not extracting materials all the time from the environment. How can we give time for the environment to recover, to regenerate? How can we use more renewable resources, more renewable energy? That is all circular economy. In Sri Lanka, I see that circular economy is the word is actually used a lot in recycling projects. Just say that we are recycling, it's a circular project. No, it's not. It's not correct. We have to look at all these three main concepts for a truly circular project. So benefits of a circular economy, or if we actually truly look at the materials and products in circularity, it's not just product driven. It's not about creating new materials, creating new products. That is the future. The future is not just product driven, and it's really important, because I see especially in our universities, when young scientists sometimes contact me, the question more often is that, can I develop a new material? Can we look at a new product? It's actually not that. It's looking at how we can change the existing system. It's not about creating another product that should go there. I mean, yes, we need alternatives. We need better products. But I think in Sri Lanka, we also lack systems thinking. We don't look at how we can actually change the existing system so that we can do things better. So it's about creating, looking at the we can get better results out of that. So you can see this is the most popular circular economy model from Ellen MacArthur Foundation. I just thought that because it's young scientists that this will be interesting to you. I'm not going to go through the model, but please read Ellen MacArthur Foundation's research. There's a lot of new stuff happening all the time, updated in their website. And you can see it's not just about recycling or creating new products. It's about that entire system thinking. So this is very simple. This is the waste hierarchy, the waste pyramid. And we usually, when we talk about the waste hierarchy, we start with reduce, reuse, recycle, or the 3R. But actually, our first step should be how to prevent waste from generating in the first place. If it's possible, if we can stop waste being generated, that should be the priority. And then it goes like the priority goes down like that: reduce, reuse, recycle. Even if we cannot recycle, then we can go for energy recovery. And if there's residual waste, that should go into a landfill. So that is the waste hierarchy. And we see that that in projects, sometimes this is not people just go for recovery options, ignoring all the rest, which should not be the case. So going to look at value addition to plastic waste. So value addition is when we can collect the materials and keep them in the circle, and whatever that we cannot can go to energy recovery. But absolutely, the materials that we can recycle and reuse should be circulate within the system. So I'm going to take Sri Lanka as a case study, and we see that if I take plastic waste, still most of the operations happen in terms of recycling at the informal sector. Lots of people who are working in the plastic recycling sector, where they collect the plastic waste, they sort the plastics into different components, different plastic types, and then recycled pellets are created, and then these pellets are used for product manufacturing. But the biggest issue that we have in improving the recycling in Sri Lanka is that we do not separate our waste properly. Separation at the source is really important. The one thing that I can highlight it is that separation at the source, even at our institutions, this is not very good, very poor. We should not mix recycled materials with other types of waste, especially with food waste in a society like Sri Lanka, where there's a lot of curries and things like that that can contaminate the plastics, and that will not go through recycling systems. Don't just think that we are separating, we are putting our lunch sheets into everything, the polythene bags. That will not encourage recycling if it's contaminated, if it will end up in an open dump site or be burned somewhere. So contamination is a common problem that we need to do something. And also I talked about better design. So even different components in a product can diminish the recycling quality. Now in Sri Lanka, we don't see paper labels mostly in these plastic bottles or PVC labels, because it's difficult to remove those things and recycle the PET bottles. We also have lots of laminated packaging materials, metallized film packaging that cannot be recycled in conventional systems. Lunch sheets, if it's like you can see all the curries and everything mixed, no matter how well you wash, sometimes you can see that oil stain and things like that again diminish the quality of the recycling materials. So in an institution or in your house, if you're separating, you should actually have a separate bin for residual waste, and add all these materials contaminated with food waste into that residual bin that goes to a landfill or another disposal facility, not to the recycling facility. I'm not going to talk about these biodegradable plastics, but there's a lot of discussions on how we manage and separate biodegradable plastics. So if you are doing research in this area, think about that as well. I see a lot of students doing like developing new materials, but we really need to think about the Sri Lankan context and how we can actually manage these products. This I'm not going to go through them, but you can read about the National Action Plan on Plastic Waste Management and look at what areas, what research gaps are there that you can you can attend to, you can look at in terms of new work, new research. Every single step in our recycling needs to be improved. So a collection needs to be improved. Like I know, my apologies for using a branded a photo with a brand just to showcase the example. But a simple bin like this can actually create a difference in how we collect the materials. Now in Japan, this is an example from Tokyo. You can see that there is a place to actually dump the unfinished drinks, a different slot to add the bottle tops, into different, like separate the materials in different components. So this level, I'm not saying that we need to copy everything that other countries do, but this level of separation actually can improve the recycling in our countries. We also see smart bins especially in Europe, where you can collect plastic bottles and you can get a discount, or you can buy a movie ticket or a train. This encourages people to return instead and get benefited for that. There is a similar project in Sri Lanka by Chakrasutra, where you can actually collect and put the materials into the trash bins and get a discount, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Sorting is also happening at a very basic level. Manually sorted materials are sorted. You might be surprised how these in sorting centers, how these people working in the sorting centers, how well they actually separate these materials. But in other countries, we see automated sorting materials in material recovery facilities that gives a better percentage. So the material recovery facilities are set up in a way that every type of recycled materials can be taken out of that. There are like magnets to remove steel, and then eddy currents to draw aluminum cans, density blowers, and even like NIR spectrums to identify the different types of plastic types. It gives a different spectra. So with the help of that, to separate the different plastics type into different areas. Our material recovery facilities, we are developing what we call material recovery facilities, but these can develop a lot. Processing, in manual material recycling, what happens is after these materials are washed, they are basically crushed into pellet materials, and then pelletized, crushed into small pieces, and then pelletized, extruded, and make pellets are created. So we see lots of these small informal sectors very active in these recycling businesses, but we really need to support them. And I think science and the informal sector are very disconnected in countries like Sri Lanka. In India, it's much better, I would say, that there are like the informal sectors are much more organized. So they actually sometimes they get the support of the scientists and the universities. We need to actually build that connection and support the grassroots organizations too. And let me talk about upcycling a little bit. Upcycling is transforming these waste materials into higher quality products. The higher quality can be the product quality or the environmental value that it creates. So we see that PET bottles are converted into shoes by large brands like Nike. PET bottles are converted into wearable materials. We have a really good example in Sri Lanka. If you can, I encourage you to visit the EcoSpindles yarn facilities. So they collect plastic PET bottles, and these are converted into yarn. The yarn that then goes into high quality yarn that goes into clothing manufacturing by different companies. We can also, I told you about laminated products like Tetra Pak that cannot be recycled using conventional materials, conventional methods, because there are different layers and it's not easy to separate these layers. But there are methods where you can actually crush and where you can separate the paper cardboard part and use the polyaluminum part to develop products, especially like for outdoor products or outdoor furniture, or even like roofing materials and things like that. I would like to talk about plastic waste and social enterprises, because like this is an area. I told you that plastic is a resource out of place and that this resource can be used in many different ways. And we see very active designers, scientists, groups getting together, youth groups especially getting together and converting plastic materials into profitable businesses. So this is one engineer designer working with us, who worked with us in a previous project, Dos Puntos in Argentina. This is again in New York, Providence Plastics. So if you go to these sites, you can see that the products has a very high value. Like a wallet like this costs something like 40 or 50 US dollars. Actually, Dr. Sumudu, can you hear me?
Yes, Dr. Randika.
Yeah. How the products are valued actually is through that additional environmental components. I'm not going to go through all the details, but I'm happy to share the presentation with the participants, Dr. Sumudu. So then you can see these examples. This is another group of activists and a group of designers, a collective that's working on converting plastic into different products, precious plastics. And they also share their blueprints with everyone, the materials, the recipes. You can see the wonderful materials that they have produced. So this is a project that we did in Sri Lanka, funded by the Australian government. This was actually implementing my PhD project in Sri Lanka 10 years ago. So we worked with 3 universities, University of Moratuwa, University of Jaffna, and University of Sri Jayawardhanapura, to take this knowledge of material development into the community level so that the communities can actually start, setting up their own businesses. So this is very simple: waste materials using a heat press converted to materials and then into products. So we worked with HDP, LDP, high density polyethylene, low density polyethylene, and polypropylene combined with different other materials to give that the quality of the materials that we wanted to develop. So one is at the University of Moratuwa, and one design center was developed at set up at University of Jaffna. And then we developed different materials, different products from the waste materials that we sourced from the industries. And we worked with local communities. So we set up 3 businesses. Khatan Upcycles, still very active and much more bigger now in Negombo. You can visit him if you contact Mr. Jayanta Kumar Siri. Khatan Upcycles, Yal Fiber is in Jaffna. And so these are the products that we have developed and helped them to take into the market. And this is Palam products from Jaffna. We also worked with Dilma Upcycling to convert their materials into value-added products. So when you have something, it's good that we do the publications, we generate that scientific interest, but we can do more than that. We can actually reach out to the communities, to companies, and work with them so that our research can create an actual impact. So this is the hierarchy of waste pyramid, the same thing. I told you that once you cannot do anything with the materials, we can go for incineration and landfilling. So there are options like, INSEE Cycle is using co-processing. They are taking out part of coal and using materials like plastics, textile waste to substitute that coal and materials to run the cement kilns. Waste to energy, we have one waste to energy plant, and there is also another company who's using plastic materials in their road construction, in the bitumen mixture. These are the last few slides. So I told you about a UN Global Plastic Treaty. So the countries in the United Nations Environmental Assembly agreed that plastic is a problem and that we need to address that. So a committee was formed, a global committee was formed to develop the treaty. The idea is that we turn this pollution of the tap off so that the pollution and the unsustainable consumption is actually reduced. It's really interesting. If you're interested in plastics, in waste management, please read about the UN Global Plastic Treaty. And the projection is that if we continue like this, we are going to suffocate from the sheer amount of unsustainable consumption. It's not the material. Material is not the problem here. The way that we are managing it, the way that we are consuming, that is the problem. So we need better approaches, and for that, we need better data. So if you look at data for plastics or for waste in Sri Lanka, it's not great. So we need as scientists to create that evidence base that we need to make better decision, because there's a very famous saying that you cannot manage what you don't measure. Without data, without that scientific base, it's difficult for us to manage, because then we are trying to manage something that we don't know. We need a collective action. We need the governments to work, come up with better policies, international organizations to give us support in capacity building and funding, private sector to come up with better innovations, better sustainable packaging, circular business models, and research and academia solutions to develop solutions, better data systems, better monitoring that will actually inform all these different groups, government, international organizations, and the private sector. Civil society, as we are all part of the civil society, we need to create better awareness, behavior change, and community initiatives. Research can support that awareness creation as well. So this is my last slide. I always use this because I think it's really important. We always wonder why somebody didn't do anything about it. We always forget that we are part of that. We are somebody, and that we can make a difference. Thank you. And if you would like to contact me, I have given my email here. There are interesting research opportunities, interesting opportunities with our centers, with our other centers. So if you're interested, please reach out to me. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Sumudhu, for inviting me.
Thank you so much, Dr. Randika, for your interesting talk. Actually, personally, I learned a lot. Even though this is not my specialty area, I personally enhance my knowledge with the plastic and the Earth or the planet. So thank you very much for that. Is there any question to the Dr. Randika from the audience?
I'll also type my email if anyone wants to reach out to me. And yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Randika. And personally, I had one question.
Yeah.
I do remember when you were with us, you were actually the live example. We have to think about the planet in each and every steps we are doing, because I still do remember when we had some lunch one day when we were having lunch, I think in the lunchroom, I do remember how carefully you remove the food particle from the pan, how you trash it. So that is the first time ever I saw someone is that much caring doing that one. So that is at that time I realized, okay, no, I am not that much careful. Normally I am sorting out, but I never ever thought, okay, that small food particle we are leaving on that going to make a huge difference at the end. So on that day onward, I didn't do that thing ever. And now I'm following your footstep how to carefully manage it. So, and I know now in Sri Lanka also so many researchers are doing the research with the microparticles. Are there any interest people who are working in the nanoparticles? Because most of the time when we are going to talk about it is just the microparticles. I was just curious.
Microplastics, yeah.
Are there any
I
papers
think,
on?
Dr. Sumudhu, there is a similar question in the chat box about the possibility of conducting research on microplastics in Sri Lanka. To answer your question first, people are still, I think, the scientists are still moving through this complex microplastic research. I know that there are papers on nanoplastics, but there's so much for us to actually, discover yet in the microplastic sector. Like microplastics and health is a huge debate in this UN Global Plastic Treaty because the groups who are supporting plastic production a lot, they kind of argue that there's no real relationship between the microplastics in the body and that it will cause cancer, things like that. More and more research is happening, so I have to say that yes, there are studies on nanoplastics, but we have a lot more to learn in the microplastic space. I also have another question, the second question from a participant about microplastic research in Sri Lanka. Yes, there are laboratories. I think it's not right for me to say that you can approach these laboratories and get the facility done without their permission. But yes, Chintaka, if you look at Jayawardhanapura, Professor Anushka, Dr. Anushka's research laboratories conducting microplastic studies. There are a few other places. I know that there are facilities, micro FTIRs given to a few facilities in Sri Lanka, but we still need to develop that space to more better microplastic research in Sri Lanka. So yes, it is costly, I think, to get it done. Yes. But Chintaka, if you can send me an email, I can give you more details on that.
Dr. Anushka also with us.
Dr. Anushka is here.
Yeah, I was
Dr.
listening
Anushka,
to
yes,
you.
please.
Really informative and wonderful session.
Sorry,
Thank
I
you,
didn't see you.
Randika. Thank you.
Dr. Anushka, sorry, I think we didn't hear you well. If you can answer that question, that would be great, please.
Network disturbances. Thank you, Randika. It was a very informative session.
Dr. Anushka, there is a question in the chat box about microplastic research, conducting research on microplastics in Sri Lanka, whether the testing facilities and laboratories are available.
As
Can you
Randika
please
said,
answer that if possible?
we have now a micro FTR available in University of Coimbatore.
Yeah.
So we had initial demonstration too. We can go up to very minor particles like less than 50 micrometer. So it is possible for us to measure the polymer and the type of polymer using micro FTIR. Other than simply we can go for staining just to make sure those are microplastic, but it is again having many limitations, Randika. So finally,
Yes.
micro FTIR is the option.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Anushka is the expert. So I'm not a microplastic expert. Dr. Anushka is the expert on that. And if you want, actually, that is why I said Chintaka.
Chintaka, you can contact us. We are happy to
Yes.
provide our assistance.
Support, yes. Yeah. When I said to Chintaka that I will send you the details, I was actually referring to giving the contacts of Dr. Anushka's research team. Thank you so much.
Hello, Randika. I'm Dhanushka here.
Hello, Dhanushka.
Yeah, Randika, I have
Dhanushka, yes.
Yes, I have a very small question, but the question is not originally coming from me. it came in a different forum, but I thought you would be the best person to answer this because I didn't hear the answer in that different forum. Since
Yeah.
you talk about this social entrepreneurship, right? So people make this kind of different, say, like jewelry kind of stuff or any nice, cute stuff with the plastic waste
Yeah.
material, right? So somebody asked why we really need to buy these stuff coming from waste, right? And I saw that in the forum there was I'm not very good answer there, but I think you can add for that for my knowledge actually. Yeah, how
Yes,
I
I
mean
think
people argue that okay, you use this material with waste, then put it back to the environment, possibly after some time, right? But I can see the good side of this. But how we can really encourage people to support social entrepreneurs?
so this can be answered in many different ways, Professor Dhanushka. So one thing is whether we actually need, like, for example, I myself, I try not to wear plastic based jewelry.
Mhm.
I mean, it was a decision taken by me after some time. I have owned plastic based jewelry before, but now after being more conscious about what I use, I try to move away from that. So the issue of actually creating more materials, more products from new plastics, in a way is kind of substituted by the fact that we create new materials from recycled plastics. But as you very correctly said, this will end up in the environment. If these social enterprises don't have a product take back mechanism, that means this is definitely ending up in the environment. So this is one of the problems or one of the challenges we had with our social enterprises. For example, the beautiful notebooks that we create. One of the first questions that we have is that a notebook, after that initial use, if the person throw it away, then the plastic is back in the environment. Yes, we have delayed, that's the word, we have delayed a packaging material from an industry becoming waste, but again our product will become a waste. It's just a delay in the process. So as much as possible, I think we need to move towards using natural materials, natural products, if that product is actually not necessary. That plastic is absolutely necessary for certain applications. Let's take the medical sector. We absolutely need materials for the products like that, or even in the FMCG sector, we need plastics for certain products. So for absolute necessary materials, let's do that. The social enterprises, we are also pushing these social enterprises to develop much more long-lasting, durable materials, like encouraging them to go for like simple furniture, like, IKEA type modular furniture, modular materials that can be broken down and again develop into different products. Also, I'm very critical about our own project that we did 10 years ago. You could see that in some products we have used natural materials with plastics. When we put natural materials with plastics, yes, we can develop beautiful, aesthetically beautiful products, but we can never separate them together. Now we have entombed a material that could have biodegradable easily with a material that could not, and created a material that will not biodegrade. So we are very critical about creating materials like that. That is why I wanted to take that message into the scientists as well, the young scientists. We have to really think about the impact our research are creating, like, into the society and to the future. Yeah, no simple answer for that, but I I totally get what you're saying.
I think it's a
Do
beautiful
not,
answer, Randika. Thank you so much.
yeah, not
Yeah.
just create materials for the purpose of creating it is something that we need to do. Prevention is always the best cure.
Thank you so much. And it's a really nice talk.
Thank you.
Any other question to Dr. Randika? Thank you so much, Dr. Randika, for spending your valuable time with us to share your expertise and share your valuable thoughts and how to save our planet and how to, especially like you give our young scientists to direction before you are going to do something. We have to think twice
Yeah.
and make the right path in the right way. So with that, I would like to convey our gratitude to you. So looking forward to get more and more thoughts from you in future as well. Thank you so much, Dr.
Thank you, Dr.
Randika.
Sumudhu, for inviting me. Thank you. Thank you.
So with that, I would like to wind up the session. Thank you so much and have a pleasant day to you all.